Good day everyone and welcome back to SCP Illustrated, entry log 91. A lot of you have been asking me to do a video on the MTF teams and today is that day. Now, I would be surprised if any SCP fans watching this don't have an idea of what the MTF teams are, but for those of you who don't, there is a whole intro sequence to get you up to speed.
I think.
Without further ado, let's begin.
No, we've done the other one.
The following data release has been authorised by the following council members and administration staff.
Yeah, I don't think we've actually seen the Mobile Task Force before.
Mobile Task Forces are elite units comprised of personnel drawn from across the Foundation and are mobilised to deal with specific threats or situations that sometimes exceed the operational capacity or expertise of regular field personnel and, as their name suggests, may be relocated between facilities or locations as they are needed. Mobile Task Force personnel represent the best of the Foundation. Mobile Task Forces vary greatly in size, composition, and purpose. A battalion-strength combat-orientated task force trained to deal with highly aggressive anomalous entities may consist of hundreds of troops, plus support personnel, vehicles, and equipment, and can be deployed in whole or in part to deal with threats across the globe. However, a mobile task force can also be a small specialised intelligence gathering or investigative task force that may have fewer than a dozen personnel if that is deemed sufficient to accomplish their goals. While in the field, task force members often pose as emergency responders, local or federal law enforcement, or military personnel appropriate to the region in which they are operating. Mobile Task Force commanders can also request the assistance of local field units or personnel stationed at nearby Foundation facilities in order to accomplish their missions.
I mean, look, I had to think a little bit because I'm not gonna lie, I thought the Mobile Task Force was like its own group, like like its own coalition. Sort of like how the Serpent's Hand is one and the SCP Foundation is one, right? I thought it was something like that, but the MTFs is just like a specialized group, and it seems to be like within the SCP Foundation. It doesn't seem to be outside of it, which is like, oh, I didn't really like I kind of knew it, because when I think about it, like we've often heard like MTFs mentioned, but I don't know, I just never really made the connection, I guess. We've definitely heard about them multiple times throughout all these reactions that we have done, but I don't know, I always picture them as more like, yeah, just kind of like a police, but it's interesting to hear that they were more than that.
Each unit is fundamentally structured in a way that best suits their intended purpose. While combat-orientated task force may closely follow military hierarchy and organisation, smaller units may have an informal or otherwise esoteric chain of command. As such, the responsibilities of the Mobile Task Force commander for each particular task force can vary greatly. The commander for a large task force might focus on maintaining multiple teams and deploying them as necessary to each assigned operation, whereas the commander of a small team might deploy with their team and direct the operation from on location. Similarly, the cohesion of each unit will vary as well. Some mobile task forces consist of personnel who have trained and worked for many years or even decades together, whereas the personnel of a mobile task force formed on a moment's notice to deal with a specific incident may know little more than each other's names and field of expertise. Mobile task forces are typically commissioned as deemed necessary by the Foundation's Director of Task Forces, often with the direct approval of one or more O5 council members. A significant number of mobile task forces are created to deal with specific anomalies exhibiting traits that standard containment or response teams are unable to effectively counteract, though many were also created to preempt an emerging or theoretical threat. Mobile task forces created for the purpose of containing a particular anomaly are typically deactivated at the end of the recovery operation or when ongoing containment is deemed no longer necessary. Occasionally, such task forces remain operational if the expertise and experiences learned are considered useful for future incidents, but otherwise, the task force will likely be disbanded and its personnel returned to their prior posts.
Oh, isn't the Samsara Warriors or whatever it's called? Aren't those like an MTF team? Isn't that like an MTF team? They come in and they're like cyborgs and shit and they fuck shit up. Isn't that like an MTF team?
Very rarely, A mobile task force will also be disbanded if it suffers sufficient casualties to render it incapable of operation. In these cases, if the prior capability of that particular task force is deemed necessary, a new task force may be commissioned to replace it. The Mobile Task Forces. MTF Alpha-1, Red Right Hand. Mobile Task Force Alpha-1 is a task force that reports directly to the O5 Council and is used in situations that require the strictest operational security. The task force consists of the Foundation's best and most loyal operatives. Further information regarding MTF Alpha-1 is classified Level 5.
Cool.
MTF
Like
Alpha-4, Pony Express.
Of the SCP Foundation.
Mobile Task Force Alpha-4 consists primarily of personnel trained to act as undercover employees and specialise in tracking, intercepting, and securing anomalous objects sent through postal and package delivery services worldwide.
Oh.
MTF Alpha-9, Last Hope.
Dude, these are
The
cool
Reborn
groups.
Omega-7, a mobile task force explicitly intended to train and utilise humanoid SCP objects in the field.
Probably
MTF
able.
Beta-4, Castaways. MTF Beta-4 is a task force created with the sole purpose of assisting and monitoring Group of Interest 466, Wilson's Wildlife Solutions, in their interactions with local fauna-based anomalies.
What?
MTF Beta-7, Mazhatters. Mobile Task Force Beta-7 specialises in the acquisition and containment of anomalies exhibiting extreme biological, chemical, or radiological hazards, as well as the rapid containment and cleanup of areas affected by such anomalies.
Oh, I bet this is a huge
This includes
one.
the planning and deployment of contingencies for wide area or pandemic spread of anomalous disease agents or other contagious phenomena.
Well, look under. It says
MTF
assisting
Gamma
in
5, Red
containment
Herrings.
of object. There's multiple
Mobile
of them.
Task Force Gamma 5 specialises in
see
preventing the dissemination of knowledge of anomalous events or phenomena in cases where initial suppression effects have proven ineffective or insufficient, or in cases where such knowledge has already reached critical levels of public exposure. This includes the research and deployment of experimental amnestics, as well as memory fabrication procedures.
Ooh.
MTF Gamma 6, Deep Feeders. Mobile Task Force Gamma 6 specialises in the investigation and tracking of deep sea or oceanic anomalies.
Oh, that's a
MTF
cool
Gamma
one.
13, Asimov's Lawbringers.
I like that one. I want that one.
Mobile Task Force Gamma 13 specialises in the investigation, tracking and apprehension of anomalous objects, persons and entities associated with Group of Interest 1115, Anderson Robotics.
Ooh.
This includes identification of Anderson customers, location of Anderson products, and conduction of raids on Anderson offices.
Now the real question is though, what group of the MTFs would you choose? That's the real question though. So far, I'm thinking about the deep ocean one or this one, the Anderson Robotics. But I think the deep ocean one so far has been the coolest one. I'm not gonna lie, dude. But it is kind of fun to consider what MTF group would be the best one to join. I mean, look, if I was in the SCP universe, my main focus would definitely be on just plain survival. I wouldn't join any groups or anything like that. But if I had to, I definitely wouldn't join the biological hazards, like the chemical, biological, and radioactive hazards cleanup crew. No, hell no. That's my least favorite. Could you imagine that? Coming home from work, wife asks you, "Oh, how was work today?" Fucking shit, man. I come in the door with a third eye. I had to clean up for this dumbass creature again. Oh, keep mutating me, man. It's disgusting. Just fucking... Let's see how many cool ones there are. I bet there's hundreds of more.
MTF Delta 5,
Not hundreds.
Frontrunners. Mobile Task Force Delta 5 is comprised of multiple autonomous deep cover cells specialising in the identification and preemptive acquisition of anomalous objects and entities of interest to other groups of interest.
Oh.
MTF Epsilon 6, Village Idiots. MTF Epsilon 6 specialises in the investigation, containment, and subsequent cleanup of anomalies in rural and suburban environments.
Oh, okay.
MTF Epsilon
That
9,
doesn't sound too bad.
Fire Eaters. MTF Epsilon 9 specialises in the use of incendiary weapons and operations in high temperature environments.
Oh, I see.
MTF Epsilon 11, Nine-Tailed Fox. Mobile Task Force Epsilon 11 handles internal security for the SCP Foundation under oversight by MTF Alpha 1. They are a Special Ops force deployed to Foundation sites when standard protocols fail and multiple breaches are imminent. As such,
Oh, so they're like
most of
first
their
people
operations
out
are
kind of
classified.
thing. Ah, I see. So these are
MTF
probably
Zeta
the
9,
people we see the most.
Mole Rats. Mobile Task Force Zeta 9 specialises in the investigation, exploration, and containment of underground or enclosed areas exhibiting anomalous phenomena, particularly those with inconsistent topography or unstable space-time.
That's cool.
MTF Eta 10, See No Evil. Mobile Task Force Eta 10 specialises in the investigation, acquisition, and initial containment of objects or entities exhibiting visual cognitohazards, visual mimetic agents, or otherwise require indirect or alternate observation in order to safely handle.
Oh, okay.
MTF Eta 11, Savage Beasts. Mobile Task Force Eta 11 specialises in the investigation, acquisition, and containment of auditory and musical anomalies, including any auditory cognitohazards or sound-based anomalous threats.
Oh, probably like
MTF
a sheep that
Theta
kills
4,
you when you listen to it.
Gardeners. Mobile Task Force Theta 4
So why would
specialises in the
react to that?
acquisition and containment of plant or plant-like anomalous objects and entities, especially fieldwork involving widespread infestations of such anomalies.
Okay, that's pretty positive.
MTF Theta 90, Angle Grinders. Mobile Task Force Theta 90 deals with anomalous topologies, geometries, and similar mathematical problem areas.
What?
MTF Iota 10, Damn Feds. Mobile Task Force Iota 10 maintains undercover operatives in various international, federal, and provisional law enforcement agencies, and specialises in facilitating the transfer of anomalous evidence and objects into Foundation control, as well as the transfer of jurisdiction over anomalous event locations from local law enforcement to Foundation containment and response teams. MTF Kappa 10,
That seems a bit
Skynet. Mobile Task
Skynet.
Force Kappa 10 is a temporary designation until such time it is either officially dissolved or sanctioned. It is strictly tasked in investigating and engaging cyber anomalies using a combination of virtual agents and Foundation researchers to track,
Cyber anomalies.
neutralise, and/or contain
What's
such
that?
intangible threats.
Cyber? I never heard about
MTF Lambda 4, Birdwatchers. Mobile Task Force Lambda 4 specialises in the investigation, tracking and containment of airborne biological anomalies, especially anomalous avian organisms.
that. Oh, maybe like dragons and stuff?
MTF Lambda 5,
Could be.
White Rabbits. Mobile Task Force Lambda 5 specialises in traversing unstable, surreal and controlled reality, and containing potentially dangerous persons and artefacts capable of manipulating space and time.
I would love to be part of that group too. That group sounds amazing because those are the people that deals with like traversing unstable, surreal, and controlled realities. I bet that's the kind of persons that, you know, go through portals and explore fucking worlds and shit, isn't it? I might be wrong about that. That's the one I'm like, ooh, okay, a field trip, motherfuckers. Look, I would be I think that's the group I would go with. Look, the group that has to do with like interdimensional shit, I would be like, Samuel, like, dude, go to a different world, dude. I mean, if you had to choose, like, look, let's be honest. If you work for the Foundation, you're gonna get effed up. You're gonna die early, dude, most likely, unless you have like some means of surviving long term, right? Or you just kind of lucky with your assignments. It's like watch over SCP 999. It's like, okay, oh really, dude? Oh, such a difficult job, dude, right? Instead of like, I don't know, 096, 106, any of these like 682, like any of these crazy ones that would fuck you up. You know what I mean? But if I had to choose, this is the kind of stuff I would do. I think I would go into like different planets, different dimensions, different realities, and deal with like artifacts and people who could manipulate and do stuff like that. I think that would be fucking cool. I would die 100%. Not even a question. I would die first. Honestly, 24 hours, I'll be dead.
MTF Lambda 12, Pest Control. MTF Lambda 12 specialises in
insects?
tracking, containing, and exterminating anomalous vermin, often used as a first response team when tracking anomalous organisms.
Okay.
To this day, MTF Lambda 12 have never lost an agent on any of their missions.
What?
MTF Lambda 14,
It's a bit weird.
1-star reviewers. MTF Lambda
review.
14 is a task force that specialises in dealing with retail-orientated locations and anomalies, be they singular restaurants or entire shopping districts displaying anomalies.
Oh!
Since
like
their
the
initial
IKEA
investigation of the Ambrose restaurant,
2008.
MTF Lambda 14 has been assigned to work to combat this group.
Maybe.
MTF MU3, highest bidders. Mobile Task Force MU3 is dedicated to monitoring Group of Interest Marshall, Carter and Dark Limited. Through the combined efforts of undercover agents and covert ops specialists, their objective is identifying objects of interest in possession of Marshall, Carter and Dark, isolating opportunities to recover these objects, and ultimately achieving their containment. MTF MU4, debuggers. Mobile Task Force MU4 specialises in the identification, tracking, retrieval and containment of electronic devices and transmissions, especially anomalous computers and network-related anomalies. This includes the investigation of internet sites suspected of anomalous capabilities or involved in anomalous events.
Oh man, look at all this SCP.
MTF MU13, Ghostbusters.
Oh!
Mobile Task Force
Ghostbusters?
MU13 specialises in the tracking, analysis and containment of incorporeal or intangible manifestations and entities, particularly those believed to be sentient, sapient, or otherwise intelligent and adaptive.
That's a good group.
MTF
Definitely a
NU7,
candidate.
Hammer Down. Mobile Task Force NU7 is a battalion-strength force consisting of 3 company-sized elements of Special Operations Infantry Forces, a light armoured vehicle company, tank platoon, helicopter squadron,
Also, this is the heavy
chemical,
guns.
biological, radiological, nuclear platoon, combat engineer platoon, nuclear weapons
Yeah, this
specialist
is
squad,
the heavy boys.
plus
This
additional
comes in
combat
with
specialists
RPGs
and support
that.
personnel. Mobile Task Force NU7
Oh,
is
yes,
based
sir.
primarily out of
Sheesh.
Armed Biocontainment Area 14 and is tasked with responding to incidents involving loss of communication with major Foundation facilities under circumstances wherein a site-wide breach, enemy compromise, or other similarly catastrophic event is suspected. MTF Omicron Rho, the Dream Team. The Foundation has discovered the method of becoming honorary, and now with this power are more capable of containing them.
Oh, no.
For decades, they teach their agents the technique that allows one consciousness to join another's. The few mentally hardened individuals that succeed are organised into a task force. The first of these was Mobile Task Force Omicron Rho.
Wait, I do not look. I have to look this up because I do not know what this is. OC, or the Honoroi Collective, is a hive mind entity located in metaphysical space. It is a collective unconscious utilizing the brain powers created by sleeping things. It has been known to manifest in physical space as inanimate and organic objects which interact with the dream space in a way that favors oneuri. Okay, so I guess it's like some type of anomaly or some anomalous concept. I don't know. A little bit confusing. If anybody in the chat knows what this is, it would be great to have a little bit of a briefing. This was a very confusing one.
MTF Pi 1, City Slickers. Mobile Task
City
Force Pi 1
Slickers?
specialises in the investigation, containment and subsequent cleanup of anomalies in densely populated urban environments, particularly in the New York metropolitan area.
Oh my, okay.
MTF Row 1, The Professors. Mobile Task Force Row 1 specialises in the acquisition, containment and transport of anomalies related to Group of Interest Alpha 388. With the reduction of the threat posed by the specific Group of Interest, the MTF has expanded its focus to any and all containment for anomalous academic endeavours. MTF Row 9,
Okay.
Technical Support. Mobile Task Force Row 9 handles computer security for the Foundation. When mimetic kill agents can lurk throughout the data structure, this is no simple task. MTF Row 19, Cytherians.
Just for fun.
Mobile Task Force Row 19 has been sent to Venus in the hopes to establish a Foundation presence where there may be considerable anomalous activity.
That's pretty cool to do.
MTF Sigma
Little
3,
Venus?
Bibliographers.
Might not be bad.
Mobile Task Force Sigma 3 is charged with exploring, understanding, and eventually containing the vast otherworldly location of the Wanderer's Library.
No, this one I like too. This one is like a high contender. I think this might be like my number one, honestly. I love the Wanderer's Library. Absolutely love it so much. I think it's awesome. It's great. Fundamentally, just mind-blowingly good. The Wanderer's Library is where you find all the information. Dude, you can find information about anything there, right? I think maybe I would want to work in the Wanderer's Library. But I would also be a little bit like, I'll probably dip out to the SCP Foundation, join the Serpent's Hand. Because I just want to be in the library. That's a bit of a bummer, isn't it? If you can choose anything in the SCP universe. Oh, hi guys, I want to be in the library.
MTF Sigma 66, 16 tons. Mobile Task Force Sigma 66 is formed of captured members from other groups of interest. Despite the lack of loyalty the Foundation expects from the assembled team, they find the members' expertise of value.
Oh,
MTF Tau 5, Samsara.
So they're usable.
Immortal cyborg clones
Samsara.
created from the flesh of a dead god. Tau 5 utilizes esoteric
I
and
remember.
experimental Foundation weaponry
Huge.
to investigate and contain thaumaturgic, magical, and psionic threats.
Oh,
MTF PSI
magical
7,
threats.
Home Improvement.
Okay.
Mobile Task Force PSI 7 specializes in the undercover investigation, containment, and or demolition of anomalous buildings or buildings affected by anomalies, particularly residential homes in populated areas. This includes the acquisition or transfer of affected buildings to Foundation control, as well as initial observation and documentation of such buildings prior to transfer to local containment teams for long-term or ongoing containment.
So
MTF
IKEA
PSI 8, The Silencers. Mobile Task Force PSI 8 specializes in the investigation, tracking, containment, and or destruction of individuals suspected to be capable of or having been affected by reanimation anomalies, as well as investigating suspected cases of communication with deceased individuals.
Oh.
This includes the severing of devices intended to allow communications with individuals buried alive, such as bells, pipes, and phones, as well as detainment and interrogation of individuals claiming to have had contact with deceased individuals.
Oh, we've encountered this. There was this like one SCP where a girl or this woman had installed something in her brain that made her able to call whenever, right? And we didn't really know why. And then she died and she could call from the death. This was probably the task force then that had to deal with it. Or those kinds of things. But it seems like it honestly seems like a zombie destruction crew. Is that crazy? Or undead, we should say undead, really. It's not really zombie, right? Because it doesn't have a virus component, necessarily. Oh, so when it's like, the lady with the crystal balls and shit, they're like, oh, nah, this is not cool. And then bust down the door. Interesting. It seems like a pretty decent group. I don't think I would want to work there, though. Working with dead corpses, shit smells.
MTF Omega 0. The Saints of MTF Omega 0 are informational constructs with the memories of deceased Foundation personnel able to manifest through access of the Foundation's intranet terminals. Using identity warfare training, they protect their living comrades against informational threats and entities. The existence of MTF Omega 0 is unknown to most or all of the living members of the Foundation.
Oh.
MTF Omega 7, Pandora's Box. Mobile Task Force Omega 7 has been disbanded and decommissioned. This entry is to be deleted by order of the Records and Informational Security Administration. Previously, Mobile Task Force Omega 7 was an experimental task force specializing in the acquisition and containment of anomalies utilizing cooperative anomalous humanoid entities,
Oh, cool.
particularly SCP-076 and SCP-105.
Oh, sir, I don't know.
MTF Omega 12, Achilles Heel.
Or maybe it was...
A task force composed of reality-bending
I think it was King.
SCP personnel from an alternate universe. Omega 12 is tasked with capturing SCP-3480-2 instances guarding the many entities imprisoned in Area 13 and hunting down powerful uncontained reality benders elsewhere.
Ooh.
MTF
Cool.
Stigma 9 evolved from naturally occurring gears, levers, and pulleys. Historically, the Church of the Broken God has always prided itself on its artificiality, that its faith is proven with tangible artifacts and physical devices of miracles. So when the time came to destabilize the Church, the Foundation put forth a team of forgers, and Stigma 9 was it.
Oh.
Additional
Okay.
MTFs.
Really? Oh, even more? I guess these are
MTF
like
Epsilon
special
7,
ones.
Forget-Me-Nots. Undercover task force tasked with disrupting the research and development of amnestic drugs. MTF
Oh, I guess by
84,
others.
Begone Forth. A unit
Begone
of SCP-3095-1 consisting of pelicans and seagulls charged with protecting normalcy after the BE class migration end of consciousness scenario. MTF ETA 5, Jaeger Bombers. Mobile Task Force ETA 5 is a rapid response unit specialising in the tracking, capturing and containment of large-scale aggressors, entities over 30 metres in height,
Oh, it's like
deploys from and
T-Rexes
detains
and-
large-scale aggressors within Dimensional Site 172.
What's it
MTF
called?
Beta
King
5,
Kongs
the bigger
and stuff like
boat.
that.
Specialised in anomalies involving or threatening marine vehicles. Mobile Task Force Upsilon 4, Sugar Pill. Originally formed in order to contain SCP-2559, Mobile Task Force Upsilon 4 is tasked with epidemiological containment, especially with the containment of memetic outbreaks. MTF PHI-2, Clever Girls. Task Force specialised in study, tracking, capture, and hunting of prehistoric anomalies, especially dinosaurs.
That is a pretty good group. That is pretty good. Dude, that's good. That's good. Dude, very informative. This was a great video about SCP Illustrated. But I will be honest, I think my final verdict will be the Wanderer's Library one. I'm so hooked on the Wanderer's Library concept of having like access to infinite information about anything you want, right? A good second would be the one that's like doing the dimensional travels and explorations and stuff. And I think the third one would be deep sea creatures, because that's fucking cool too. It's pretty cool too. Although, you know, if I had to go in like a submarine and go to the bottom of the sea to like visit a monster crab and shit, no thank you, dude. No thank you. Take me to the library, please. You know what? Something that would be really cool if somebody made like a quiz of certain questions of what you would like to do. Like it was, let's say like an SCP Foundation like application kind of forum, right? And you could fill it out, and you could see where you would belong to the best. You know what I mean? Like, would you be like a specialized operator? Would you be like a combat soldier? Would you work with deep sea creatures? Would you work with like memetic artifacts, right? And see where you would lie. Would you be a researcher? You know, like I think if somebody had like a quiz like that, that would be insanely fun. Anyways, what did you guys pick? I'm super curious to hear what organization that you would pick of the MTF organizations or groups. But yeah, that was awesome. Dude, thank you guys so much for recommending this video. This was absolutely awesome. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please follow, like, subscribe, and comment some comments down below if there's anything you want me to react to. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Alrighty, peace.